Welcome to MSP Unplugged. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT support business, whether you're a nimble MSP or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. I'd like to introduce my guest for today is Pierre Anyansi. I believe I got it right.
Anyansi.
Close enough. My apologies.
No worries, man.
Over at CEO over at Any IT Support. Pierre, it's a long time coming, man.
I know. I've been running away from it. It's
I know.
scary.
It's good. But we're glad we got you on there. A couple Midwestern boys here. I know
Yep.
you're out of Peoria.
Yep.
I think the common nickname I hear is Pierre from Peoria. It's a common thing. But before we go into kind of like your origin story, kind of how you kind of came to the space, just wanted to drop a little quick notice again. If you haven't watched the last couple episodes, we have officially announced that TechCon Unplugged is back September 17th to the 19th in Chicago. We'll be having more details coming in here shortly. Head over to techconunplugged.com. Purchase your early bird tickets if you choose, because we're going to be having the agenda and speakers updates here coming shortly.
All right.
Pierre, it's going to be back in our hometown. How you feel about that?
Yes, I love it, man. I love it. I can't wait.
So I appreciate you. Obviously, we had a couple opportunities to be at a TechCon, learn a little about your story. But for those that have not had the chance to speak with you, why don't you talk a little bit about how you kind of started your IT background and then how you came to running Any IT Support?
Gotcha. So I started any IT support. I guess I started my IT journey back when I was in Jamaica. I grew up in the Caribbean. Every typical thing you could think of probably happened to me. I always run on the beach. I jump in rivers every now and then. But I grew up on a farm, and there was one problem I wanted to figure out. I think I was watching some TV show and where I saw that. You guys remember the old peanut phones? It's like a Motorola phone. It's shaped like a peanut. Yeah. They had that on the phone, and they had like a colored vision, and they were watching some kind of movie. I was like, "This is cool. I have one of those phones. Can I do that?"
Yeah.
So I'm up in my field trying to look for signal and seeing how this works, and obviously it would never work.
Yeah.
But it triggered me like, why is it not working? How does it happen? Like, why they can do it but I can't do it? And that really that question got me where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, that's kind of like where that triggered that thought, and then obviously going through my life, high school, the IT guy taught me like the basics of computers, how to break down a computer, how everything works, and he convinced me to go to college and then also start my business.
Okay.
So the very first MSP client or prospect I had was right out of high school. I did some cold calling. And it was basically for this school in Jamaica, and they wanted to look at some old computers. So basically, I moved some computers over upstairs to get their system checked. And I realized the problem was just like, you got old computers. And that's what I told her. Mind me, I'm the young Pierre, And I said, okay, how much you want to charge us for this? And I was saying, okay, $5,000 for my time and my effort. That's what I was thinking. And she's like, you want bus fare? And that was the response. I was so insulted, but that was my first experience of entering that feeling. It's like, you know what, I want to do this again.
Yeah.
But fast forward, went to the States, graduated at Illinois State University, got my first job as a service provider in the space. So it was like kind of my first MSP job, and I did love that as well. We basically got let go from that one for layoff reasons, and then I got my first contract gig traveling the United States fixing computers, and that was like a taste of like, I need to keep on doing this. And right after 2017, I started doing like freelancing work with IT Nations and Work Market, the whole 9 yards. And then 2022 is like, you know what, we got to make this happen. So that's why I started Any IT Support.
That's awesome.
I know that's a long story, but
No. I mean, it's funny because I resonate with that, right? Because obviously Caribbean myself, Puerto Rican, I can understand that journey and being able to just want to do more, right? And being able to figure that out. I've also had the problem where you had mentioned where you have a client that doesn't understand the value, right? And not having communicated that value up front. So then in the back end, you ended up getting that, hey, you get airfare. So our story was we ended up doing a whole retrofit from, it was a print sign company. The whole gambit, we redid the whole thing. And so the funny joke was there was a computer that he was like, hey, I need to replace this POS system.
Okay.
So 14 at the time.
Okay.
We used to call these old computers POSs for a different reason. So I assumed he said, hey, I want a POS computer to run this software. I was like, oh, so he don't want to buy new. He just wants a POS. So we go ahead, I install it. I'm spending 6 hours on this thing trying to get it going. Even the transistor had sparked onto a fire trying to run into it. I don't know how that happened.
One of those. I got you.
I saw that there. Anyway, at the end of everything, I was like, hey, you know what? This is not going to work. We're going to go ahead and just get a new system in here, update it. It's going to be 22 hours that I had spent on there. I need there. And all I remember, he looked at me. He said, yeah, you could do better. And I said, oh, yeah, he could do better. And, yeah, so ended up chalking that up to the game and then kind of move forward of understanding where, learning lesson, you got to provide the value up front and understand of the agreement before you can move forward on a project, right? Obviously, these are all learning opportunities.
Yeah.
And then obviously moving forward, being able to have the ability of doing, being able to break off on your own or trying to figure out how you want to do for your contract gig and things of that nature. So, again, going through the Field Nations, going through the Marketos. I think there was another company, I forgot what they're called now, that they used to white label for Dell.
Oh, so, I heard about those too.
Yep, and you make all those runarounds and, you had to do what you had to do and make it happen. And I think what really happened or what really was successful for us was the ability of understanding, all right, there are others that have been established here. How do I go ahead and partner with them?
Yeah.
And because my type of client is going to be different than their type of client, right? And so once that relationship happened through a local association, things kicked off and kind of went from there, right?
Nice,
and so So obviously for you, right, there had to have been a desire that you wanted to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And you wanted to be able to give it your own perspective and your own taste. Is there a story or there's something behind that where you wanted to kind of do it yourself and do it your own way, maybe in a different perspective, a different way of doing it? Is there something in there that led you to form a business versus finding another business that kind of aligned to the culture that you're trying to aspire to?
Yeah. So my current job right now, I work for an ambulance company, and when I first got there, they were imaging computer the traditional way. You know, you plug in the USB, you hit next, and basically take like 4 hours. We have over 500 people, so doing that for a lot of desktop is very painful. Mm-hmm. So I know that at my previous gigs, you plug in a USB, you hit a couple of numbers, and they just do it on its own. How do you do that? Yeah. You know, and after doing research, Googling and all that stuff, I heard about MDT. That's the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. And I was like, whoa, how you said that? And then more Googling. There was no Chat GPT at the time. So it was more like, you got to figure it out and, you know, the research. And then after I got everything working, I was like, it would be nice if there was a company that I can call that can give me this help because you got all that experience already. And that's when I'm like, why not I be that company? Because I can Google stuff all day. Yeah. And that's kind of like where the birth of any IT support came. Like, let's solve solutions, problems for you, because the problems you have is usually stopping you from growing anyway. Right. I'm at this roadblock. I can't fix this. I can't do this. Yeah. Let's see if we can remove that barrier and help business to grow. And that's kind of like the concept of any IT support on a whole, that growth in the solution.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you know, what you mentioned of growth and scaling, right? Like the goal for you is to be able to do this, run this on your own, be able to employ your family and be able to get this going, because I know your lovely wife helps you with your business as well. And you know, I had a great pleasure to meet her on several of the tech cons that she's been able to attend. You know, with that scale, I assume that there are things that you're putting in place, right? You're starting to build that foundation so you can make the jump, right? And oftentimes, you know, we just had this conversation about tool sprawl and trying to figure out pieces and things of that nature. What has led you to where you're at now in regards to what have you decided for as far as like how to run your business in regards to protecting your clients, mitigating risk? What has led you down? Because it sounds like you do a lot of research before you jump into making a decision, right? And that's everyone can see. Background, we're here on location at Zero Trust World. And I know this is probably one of the tools that you use, but what kind of led you to wanting to do security into your practice, right? Because a lot of people will look at a help desk or a managed IT department, MSP, et cetera, and they're divided into three areas. You have your help desk, you have your network operations, managing networks, then you have security. And sometimes one of us will fit in one of those buckets and adopt the rest. Can you tell me a little bit about what caused the first curiosity and then kind of ballooned to what you're doing?
I never had any interest in security, to be honest. In college, I used to sleep through the security courses.
Okay.
Honestly, kudos to you guys. I watch you guys faithfully. And one of the comments one of you guys says that, like, security is no longer an option. It's something that you have to have. And it's just, okay, cool. Because I'm literally, you guys are my university and probably a couple of Google stuff.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? So I hear it and I say, okay, how do I implement it? I don't like security. What's out there? You know, and then doing some research, came across ThreatLocker. You know, like, that's an interesting way to look at it. you stop something so it never happens. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
And learning more about their product and how they do things make me want to learn more about security. And that's kind of like that my journey here started in that sense. But overall, I admired, and I guess we're talking about ThreatLocker a little bit now, I admire the fact that ThreatLocker forces you to first wait, know your client, understand what they have, and then your implementation will be successful and also would be more secure. So that's like, I like that I have to do that because I have to do that anyway for onboarding.
Right.
And then because I have to do that, it makes my product more feasible, attainable. So I think that's kind of like the meat and potatoes of why the security-driven product. My passion is networking.
Okay.
My degree is networking. I do Cisco stuff, Unify. So I love networking. But
I was just going to ask you, what's the networking brand you like to rock now?
A little bit of Unify.
Or have you standardized?
I'm in the process of doing it, but a little bit of Unified and a little bit of Citricom. And I love Cisco's complicated enterprise things. So it makes me more think about like, okay, how can I do this in Unify? How can I do this in another product? But yeah, I think right now Unify and Control One is kind of like the product I'm gonna looking at right now.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, Unify House here as well. Kicking and screaming. So as people who listen to the show, right?
Join the Fi,
join the Fi, support the Fi was kind of the hashtag that was in the beginning of last year from Rick Smith and our other co-host Corey. And it's just amazing on how much development that brand has done and so forth. But again, all about standardization and really figuring out what the passion is, right? And focusing on that side. You talked about on how you did your research, you went through the tool, they kind of gave that education. Have you found that through that research that with ThreatLocker doing their thing, you try to look for other like-minded vendors to help support what you need to do, or are you kind of basing things on your own framework or research, such as like a CIS or a NIST or CMMC or something even barred down of like, hey, I'm just here to try and create operational efficiency first. I got these things to kind of plug and play, and then I'm building that foundation so that I can get to where I want to go for that standardization of that side.
This is where I struggle because I do tool sprawl.
Okay.
I guess the overall goal is to understand how can I make this a package that I can sell to my customers and give them value. So my vision might be huge, but then like, Pierre, I don't want all that. I just want this piece. Yeah. And that's kind of like the struggle part I get. So when I'm picking my tools, I'm like, okay, I want it to be relevant to you, but I want to make sense to me because I'm designing this whole product.
Right.
And then that's where the struggle bus comes in because, you're changing. You say you want to do healthcare, then okay, let's think about some compliance stuff in there. Let's think about the threat lockers. Let's think about all that stuff. But then what if you shift to manufacturing? What now? Then all your stacks that you had, can you transfer it over, or do you need to move it over? So all that decision to go back and forth and understand that is so hard. Because like, how do you? When I talk to a company and it's one particular MSP here, he has over 18 locations and so much other stuff going on. It's like, dude, how do you standardize? Like, how do you have manufacturing, you have plumbing, you have this, you got that. How do you standardize your tool that it makes it so that you're solving their problems, but not wasting money?
Sure.
And I can't answer that question.
So did he give you that reply, or you hadn't had a chance to chat?
I haven't really had a talk to that, but I heard about his stuff. But he's told me that was a struggle for everybody, but I never really got an answer there.
Got it.
Yeah, but I guess I'm going to throw the question back on you if
I mean, so again, and I've mentioned this multiple times, every MSP, every IT service provider has their own journey. So you will find out what fits for you, right? Yeah. Some go through a unified process. Some will put together a bundle of different vendors to achieve what they're looking for.
Yeah.
For me, how we kind of orchestrated our side is we know that a business is a business, and business cares about three things. And I think I probably have said this on every episode on location this time around. Every business cares about increasing their revenue, reducing their costs, and expanding their market share. So how do you help with that with your services, right?
Okay.
And so for me, I always used to, in the early days when I'm not really understanding the full thing called IT spend, was, hey, your investment in myself, we're going to go ahead and make sure that you're going to get the best bang for your buck because I'm going to cut your spending 20 to 30% when you invest in us.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
so I want the internet bill. I want the phone bill. I want to know what you're paying, your camera systems. I ask for all that, right? To understand what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because even if I can't solve anything right then, I'm positioning myself as a business advisor versus a technology advisor, right?
Yep.
The second piece to it is we have always been security first.
Okay.
So that's kind of been our viewpoint because like you, I had no desire to do security whatsoever because I didn't want the liability.
Yeah, I
My
understand
biggest
that.
thing at the time was like, because I just was not prepared, don't have the money for a lawyer, don't have the money to make sure, and then I didn't know if I had enough coverage
Yeah.
that in my agreements that it would last in court.
Yeah.
And I just hate inconvenience. I
Yeah.
don't want to be in a court all day to have to deal with it, to prove that I did something. So oftentimes I would eat a lot of costs, a lot of bad agreements because I didn't want to deal with that part, even if I was in the right.
Yeah.
So, but the industry has changed. I think there's a lot of great partners and vendors in our space right now that help collectively augment us to be able to help with that.
True.
And then I'm just happen to be now blessed to be able to be over at MSP Owners Group, where now we have a lot of that corporate structure
Gotcha.
and things of that nature kind of figured out and helping provide that collective voice. But to go back to your question, for us, our standardization is how can we help in the business of that framework, and we follow CIS. So
Gotcha.
us is the easiest non-vague option of 18 steps. If I can adhere to each of those 18 steps, that's how I can mitigate risk for the business.
Gotcha.
And so, because for me, I always have told the business, it's not so much of me mitigating risk or protecting them, is I want to make sure that you are as defensible as possible so that you, Mr. and Mrs. Client, are not deemed negligent to
Gotcha.
your end user.
True.
And that typically lands with law firms because that's legal terms.
Yeah.
So, and so that's how we communicate that. And so, and we adhere on that. Now, my problem that I'm running into right now is, like you mentioned, I bundled all 18 of the controls with tools, topics, and processes under a per user price.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I went against what industry standard is, whereas I included Microsoft licensing in my pricing. I included items that you normally would not include on a per seat pricing.
Yeah.
So now that's kind of what we're doing on right sizing our clients,
Gotcha.
where, hey, we cannot pay to help you run your business, meaning Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, etc. These are components that help you run your business. We cannot pay for that to
I
run
see
your
what you
business
mean,
because
yeah.
you're going to need it regardless.
Yeah.
And so that should be its own line item. That was something I adopted because A, it was an easier sale that I didn't have to argue with them to adopt something.
Makes sense.
But B, costs from 8 years ago to now has completely changed.
Gotcha.
And so the cost was eroding margins were not being properly handled. And so that was really trying to figure that piece out of understanding, all right, there are different ways of doing it. There's a stepping stone and there's a way, but you have to get started. You can't have the overanalysis paralysis, which I am guilty of, which Rick Smith always yells at me about. And I can just never just pull the trigger and do something, right?
Yeah.
And so for my advice on that part is I just look at a business as a business. And then, yes, to your point, there are going to be differentiations across of them, but there are similarities across them as well.
Gotcha.
So, for example, my industries are construction, manufacturing, and legal.
Okay.
What I do in legal will probably be equal to all of the other three, but manufacturing has a different need for IoT devices and things of that nature, so that's a different SKU or thing I would have to figure out.
Okay.
Manufacturing technically is similar as a construction company, but a manufacturing site does not have field workers.
True. Yeah.
So if there's people on site and things of that nature, I got to make sure that the on-site guys and gals are protected on their side.
Gotcha.
That's another SKU or thing that I have to worry and take care of. But there is a baseline
Gotcha.
that you have to figure out, right? So having the understanding, figuring out your foundation, understanding your 360, I will still stand here to say that I think the biggest of 80% of the threats that go out there is, ensuring that you have MFA, spam, and password management.
Yeah.
You're gonna those are where the business compromises are gonna be happening, right?
pretty much, yeah.
And then having something similar to like what you mentioned as far as with ThreatLocker, or a tool of just deny then approve, having that mentality and educating your client to that
Yeah.
goes such a long way to be able to move forward for that. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
Okay.
In process of that side, but ultimately, I think for you, It sounds like obviously you're still building on that, right? You're still trying to figure that piece out and going from there. What are some components that, you've obviously said you've adopted ThreatLocker. Is there a favorite tool that you have right now or a system that you're really enjoying because it's helping you now understand how to do either a role better, supporting your clients easier? Is there something right now that is doing that for you? It could be ThreatLocker, it could be another system that you're running into that you're really enjoying right now.
Can I say two tools?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely ThreatLocker is, I love that it has so much use case in it, especially the detect feature.
Okay.
Where basically you can take all the other arms, so like the allow list and the ring fence and the network and the control, and you can build rules based off that. For example, like if somebody on my team is deleting a file that's titled this, stop them and let me know, or lock them out of it. You can build on like combining the application. If you download this file or download this, install this software, access this file, and try to move this program, do this then. That if or else rules that makes it more than just security. I like the fact about that. And also it makes it more dynamic security and not just like something you just set it and forget it type deal. I do enjoy Breach Now. I feel like it's like a secret weapon that no one really knows about. A lot of people have a lot compliance, offerings that cost like thousands of dollars. Breach Now, just say, hey, pay me $100 and something, and you have all that in there. Your what's it? I'm kind of drawing blank on it now. Basically, they have a compliance risk assessment in there. They have also security awareness training, which is huge, and also AI training. They have not blacklists. I'm drawing a blank right now. Dark web monitoring features, so you can prospect out of that as well. It's just this combining of tools that you don't really have to think about that you could use and leverage for your customer and also have them secure,
Goes back to having a unified platform.
Yeah,
right?
unified platform type deal. So those are kind of the tools I'm like, oh, this is giving me value. I like tools that give me value and not tools that just repeat. Oh, now I have an EDR because everybody else have an EDR. I hate vendors. I wish they focus on the problem that we are having and try to solve that and not try to be, okay, I'm the popular one in the gang, so let me try to do the same thing there. So those are the two.
So I'm going to throw one last question at you, and I want it to be answered in your perspective.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Obviously, you've come into the space, and you're trying to learn, and you're trying to piece together what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
Do you find it more difficult now or easier than MSPs coming into the space now? Because you've been here for a little bit now. Someone who's brand new, trying to come or reinvent themselves and come into the space, do you think that they may have it a little bit more difficult or easier than how you kind of were going through to try and figure it out for yourself?
I feel like it'll be more difficult because there's a lot more installing non-touch tools out there, and that it will become more of a commodity, unfortunately, and not that's like a business solution provider.
Yeah,
we kind of want to change our name now, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it'll be a lot more difficult because like, oh yeah, I got a guy that does it already, or I don't need that. I don't need to worry about that because they're making more secure products. So so it's very challenging. And I come back and say, like, when I hear these stories, like, how the hell you have 500 clients? Like, it's a struggle to even get one when you think about it. Like, because you do the cold call, you do the emailing, you go door to door. You hear a lot of no's, and you really don't think about like, oh, because I'm already big. Back then, they didn't have technology. Right. Technology was a gold mine, but now it's like it's so innovative we're in an environment that you really don't. It's hard to convince someone that they need you. Right. And now that makes you want to think about more ways and innovative ways to present yourself. So I think it would be a struggle for the newbies, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing now. I think, what I'll leave off is, right now we're in a space where there's a lot of saturation in all markets, right? Yeah. But what I will say is that we're in a position now in the industry where there's going to be a big reset. Yeah. And we're going to get to a point where in 12 to 18 months, this is a question I've been asking a lot of people. And you don't have to answer it now, but this is one that I've been asking is that, what are you going to do when what you're doing at this moment is no longer what you're doing in 18 months? Yeah. So the question becomes, what do you do? And so really the piece to that is what I say is that, and a lot of people tend to stew on that because I only give them 18 months. Then I ask the question, what's going to happen in 5 years? Because it's going to be such a different service provider than where we are now in solutions and solving, that it's going to be a completely different just perspective of how to support your clients, right? And so